Badlands, running to Badlands. Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right? Every 4 years, we gather on these steps to carry out the orderly and peaceful transfer of power. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning, because today we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people. For too long, a small group in our nation's capital has reaped the rewards of government, while the people have borne the cost. Washington flourished, but the people did not share in its wealth. This American carnage stops right here and stops right now. The forgotten men and women of our country will be forgotten no longer. From this day forward, a new vision will govern our land. From this day forward, it's going to be only America first.
This is a president of the United States who is a danger to the republic.
America first.
He knows he's an illegitimate president.
The oath of office I take today is an oath of allegiance to all Americans.
The great Trump recovery.
America will never be a socialist country. I will fight for you with every breath in my body.
Russia, Russian, pro-Russian, Russian, Russia, Russian, 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 the Russians. Russia,
Russia, Russia, Russia.
And I will never, ever let you down.
A dangerous virus is spreading rapidly in China, and U.S. officials are very worried that it could come here.
This is really the worst attack we've ever had. This is worse than Pearl Harbor. This is worse than the World Trade Center. There's never been an attack like this.
The time for empty talk is over. Now arrives the hour of action. What they're doing is using COVID to steal an election. Together, we will make America strong again. You know what it's about? Fraud, fake ballots. We will make America wealthy again. They are trying to steal the election.
Now, under the leadership of President Trump, we are fully realizing President Kennedy's prescient view of Special Operations Forces.
We will make America proud again. And watch, please, those mail-in ballots. We will make America safe again. And in millions and millions of ballots, their vote is under what they thought they needed. They're dumping more ballots in there, okay? And yes, together, we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. If we are right about the fraud, Joe Biden can't be president.
Congress, the chair declares the joint session dissolved.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Saturday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. Welcome to the audience and the trolls I see out there. We see you. Chris, how you doing, man?
I didn't know we had trolls in there already.
Oh, always, man.
I was doing great, and now that you've mentioned the trolls, I'm doing terribly.
The trolls have ruined us. The stream will never recover. How will we ever do so? Yeah, we got a whole dedicated group of listeners. We have people who take time out of their day to come in and downvote the stream before they even know whether it's been a good stream or not. Like, I understand if the stream sucks to downvote it, sure. But how do you do it without even knowing? That's a hater right there.
Yeah. I wonder if maybe they're just triggered that it pops up in their feed or something.
Yeah, maybe. But typically we don't pop up in people's feed. I'm talking like hours. So like people go and search it out just to downvote hours before the stream goes live.
Oh, gotcha.
That's like rent-free, man. We are living rent-free. We should raise prices.
We should.
Or do we? No, if we're living rent-free, they would be the one with prices. Never mind, it doesn't work. Whatever. Anyway, man, long time no see. It's been like a week. Or
it has been a week. It's nice to be back in my, home environment here.
Undisclosed location.
Yeah.
The floating head. What was that?
Live DPH is always a good time, though.
Yeah, I had a blast. Deadwood is great. Codex 911 is great. We got the premiere coming tomorrow, the world premiere for everybody else. Can't wait for that either. 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. So make sure you guys tune in for that. But yeah, tonight's show should be a fun one. There's plenty to talk about. We're going to talk about Ghislaine Maxwell and her testimony transcripts that were released because they do not feed the confirmation bias that everybody wants it to feed. We're going to discuss that. She could be lying, but she also could be telling the truth, which is what I think. And if that's the case, we're going to explore both sides of that. We're going to talk about John Durham making an appearance, also not being the character I think a lot of us hoped he would be, at least another example of why he may not be such. We're going to talk. What else are we going to talk? There's some interesting Ukraine stuff. There's some Trump being a dictator stuff. There's what else we got? Bolton.
Bolton, yep.
Yeah, plenty to discuss. We'll see what happens. But anyway, before we do any of that, man, let's get into a couple of our sponsors, and then we can get to it unless you have anything you really want to say.
No, by all means, go for it.
Okay, I will. Oh, what I will say though is, was it like last week we talked about the fantasy football thing, maybe doing it on a stream, and I think we're going to move forward with that.
Yeah, sure.
We did on the show, sure. But yeah, I think we finalized today in our group chat that we're doing a fantasy football league amongst the Badlands hosts. We're going to help
G-Money. G-Money would like you to know that he is not participating because fantasy football is gay.
Yes, and he's not wrong. Like, fantasy football does have some gay tendencies.
The NFL has a lot for sure.
Yeah.
And so fantasy football does does join you for a few months to the NFL.
But we're going to do it anyway. And we're using some weird app, though. It's not like ESPN. I feel like we're not directly associated with the gayness. Like, we're on the fringes of the gayness of the fantasy football. I
do like the app. It seems cool.
Yeah. But anyway, so we'll probably announce that we might be doing it Thursday night in place of Rug Pull Radio, because I think G-Money's going on vacation, that's perfect irony right there.
Yeah. Vacation's pretty gay too, to be honest.
Yeah, especially the way he does it. But anyway, let's talk about a couple of our sponsors here. First up, we got Bear Bars. Whoops, that's not the right one. There we go. Bear Bars. Have we been duped? We're all trying to get healthier, grabbing protein bars that look healthy, but do you actually know what's in those bars? It's mostly junk. One comparison found a fast food burger was healthier than a protein bar. That's why I'm all about this new Bear Bar. It's what you thought you were getting in a protein bar, real food, minimal ingredients, with no mystery additives. The Bear Bar is literally just beef protein, tallow, honey, and salt. That's it. All real food, and it doesn't taste like garbage. 20 grams of clean grass-fed beef protein, but it doesn't taste like beef. Light, fluffy texture, not a gut bomb like other protein bars. It's naturally sweet, easy on your stomach, and most importantly, doesn't taste like garbage. Bear Bar got it right. A high-quality protein bar without the junk. You got to give it a shot, and we can get you a 15% discount and free shipping if you use code DPH at getbearbars.com. That's getbearbars.com, B-A-R-E, promo code DPH. All right, and then we have two more that I got to do. I'm going to do one now, and then you just can't let me forget about the other one later.
All right.
Let's do Brick House, because I love this product too. I used to work out a lot, like 5 days a week. I did it for years, And the protein situation was always a struggle, just generally. Like, you either find one that tastes really good, but it doesn't work like it should, or you find one that does work like it should and it tastes like shit. And it's a struggle. I'm pretty positive here that Brickhouse Nutrition got it right. The results are to be determined. I'm not lifting as much as I used to, but the doctors at Brickhouse Nutrition figured out why protein powders fail. Poor quality protein plus cheap fillers like maltodextrin, soy, corn syrup, sodium, and cellulose. If your protein powder isn't cutting it, you got to switch to Brickhouse Whey protein like I did. Brickhouse Whey is bioengineered by doctors, not marketers. This is the new science in protein powder that delivers results you can feel immediately, results you never got from your previous protein powder. Clean formulation gives Brickhouse Whey superior bioavailability, delivers professional level muscle growth and strength, a lean toned physique, unsurpassed energy, and rapid workout recovery. It's also lactose free, so you don't have any of those bloating or upset stomach issues. So don't let the junk protein sabotage how you look and how you feel. Switch to Brickhouse Whey for guaranteed results or your money back. Go to thenewway, WHEY.com, and use promo code Badlands for 20% off. That's promo code Badlands at thenewway, WHEY.com. And I feel like you guys should just order just for how clever that URL is, thenewway.com. All right,
I
man.
like it. I tried the chocolate one. I haven't done the unflavored.
Yeah, I haven't tried the unflavored either.
Chocolate one was good.
Yeah, chocolate one's really good. Oh, is the troll still in there? Do we have a new troll?
It doesn't matter.
Oh, somebody accused us of being Jewish controlled opposition Psy warriors. That's weird because I feel like we hate on the Jews quite a bit. Like, not all Jews. We won't get into it, but let me just look that up so I can ban that one real quick. How dare you call me a Jewish controlled opposition warrior? Anyway, okay, let's talk Epstein. I want to start with this because we might as well piss everybody off right away. I've been doing a thread.
Could not exactly the best lead in when you're to go immediately to Jeffrey Epstein after that.
Well, hey, Ghislaine Maxwell said that he is not Mossad. Okay, Chris?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
And here's the thing. She could be telling the truth. But I started a thread on this, and there were some people that like, well, he just wasn't asking the right questions, or, well, clearly she's just trying to get a better deal and all these other things. And, maybe some of that's true, but I am 150, 160 pages into the first day of their deposition or back and forth, whatever, interview. And I mean, my mindset about the whole thing is kind of changed. And I'm operating under the assumption, and maybe this is a wrong place to be operating from, but I don't think she has a reason to lie. I really don't. And so I'm operating under the assumption that she's probably telling the truth here. And I think it would be better for her, like if she had damning information on a whole bunch of people, to disclose that in this setting, because they offered her an agreement where if she confessed to anything, as long as she told the truth, she couldn't get in trouble here. The only issue she would run into where she could face further prosecution or whatever, further issues down the road, is if they find out she was lying. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know why she wouldn't disclose anything she had on any of these people. And the vibe I'm getting is just like, the Epstein situation isn't what we thought it was, isn't what it has been portrayed to be, which is exactly what Trump has been saying. It's what Kash Patel said back on June 6th in that Joe Rogan interview. It's what Bongino's been saying. It's what Pam Bondi's been saying. It's what Todd Blanche has been saying. All our favorite TV characters, as you would say, are saying
ones we like and ones we don't like.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're all saying the same thing now. Like, so what does that mean? But I do want to go through a couple interesting ones. But are we ready as a movement, as a community, to potentially come to terms with
having gotten hoodwinked by the Epstein thing?
Yeah. Do you think these people would hoodwink us, Chris? Do you think that's possible?
Yes. I look at the way that story has been brought to the mainstream in the last 5 years, and it's always through people who seem to be Con Inc. TV characters. We had a Netflix documentary that was like a huge warning signal as far as I was concerned. Like, if Netflix is producing an Epstein documentary, something's off about that situation. So I've kind of taken an arm's length since that point. And then when we saw the Epstein files op at the White House, it was clear that there was something deeply wrong with our relationship to this particular issue. And it's only gotten worse with time, I think.
I totally agree. And okay, so again, not having read through the drops, is the Epstein stuff featured heavily in the drops?
I wouldn't know.
Okay. Well, I mean, somebody in the chat needs to should let me know. And I'm not saying that like to dog on the drops. I've written about the drops. We're pro Q at Badlands Media. Like we all see it for some sort of white hat op to awaken the masses, and I think it's been very successful at that. But it's a notable data point if it's in the Q drops and presented a certain way, and now it's being presented a different way by somebody who we have believed to be directly involved in this entire thing. But let's go through a few pieces of this and just some notable data points. Okay, that's all we're going to talk about first. The first thing is that is this herself, Ghislaine. She was asked, "Is your father was he in intelligence?" It's rumored like that, and she answers honestly, but kind of says no. It's a weird answer. He was an intelligence, a British intelligence officer. I think that my sort of belief is that once you've been an intelligence officer, you're kind of always. It doesn't mean that you're formally employed. So I don't think my dad, in any formal sense, was employed by any agency. But when you're a very significant businessman and politician, as my father was, you meet with people over time. I guess trade, business, or ideas. I think if that would fall under that definition, that's how I would give it. So she kind of like, yeah, basically, but not directly. And I thought that was interesting. And then here was an interesting one. We'll go through a couple of these, and then there's a few that I want to actually talk through. In the early 90s, and I guess this wasn't a new story. I DM'd Mike Benz about it. And he's like, yeah, this has been out for a little while. It's crazy. But Jeffrey Epstein was in a State Department house that was formerly owned by the Iranians. Like he rented a house from the State Department that they had sequestered from Iran, which was just weird. That was in the 90s.
In the U.S.?
Yes.
Wow. What does it say? It
was a former Iranian embassy. I think it belonged to the Iranians, the Iraqis. And then later on in the interview, they talk about it. They confirmed it was Iran, but it was a State Department house. It was like $12,000 a month. So I just thought that was weird that he was literally renting a house from the State Department, which we now understand to be a deep state agency within our own government, as most of them are. I thought this was weird, and it gets brought up multiple times in this interview, that Epstein told me that he had a heart condition. That's what Ghislaine said. A heart condition, which meant that he didn't have intercourse a lot, which suited me fine because I actually do have a medical condition which precludes me from having a lot of intercourse. There's another part of this interview where
quite intimate details.
Yeah. He told me he had a difficulty having an erection, and I believed him. I think it's only met. So I just thought it was interesting. Like these two were told, not even were told, like these two have been presented as like the most infamous sex traffickers, like the faces of the operation of the deep state blackmail sex operation. And yet she's telling us that neither of them could really have sex that much. I just found that a little ironic, to say the least.
Yeah. I mean, she makes an airtight case for herself. It really turns on whether or not she's telling the truth. And I don't know how we're going to know that.
Yeah. And maybe we never will. And I want to discuss that maybe here once we get through all these, because there's really not that many. Depends how you look at it. There's not that many. The next one is Bill Clinton wasn't Epstein's friend. It was Ghislaine's friend first, which I thought was interesting. She did say later in the interview that he was on the plane a lot, but she never saw him in any inappropriate situation with any masseuses or whatever. She had a lot of really nice things to say about Trump. Like he was very cordial, never in any bad situations, never heard anything bad. There's a mention of the Rothschilds. She had a whole list of names of people that were clients. And there's only a handful that she said that she knew were getting massages, but she didn't think anything nefarious was going on. I thought that was interesting. She claims this part was really interesting here. Did you ever see him blackmail? Never. A client? No. Did you ever see him blackmail a friend or acquaintance? Never. And then here. So let's even assume that the premise is correct, that he was doing that and he was going to tell everybody, going to say, oh, you had an inappropriate relations with an underage girl. if you don't have a video or photograph or photographic evidence, because I'm not even sure the FBI would take that. Well, maybe today, but certainly not back then. Kind of dogging on the FBI. I thought that was funny. Would take that seriously. So you have to have something to say, hey, look, I've got this video of you doing terrible things and you need to. So I built the houses, many of them. I decorated those houses. I put the electricians in for the wiring. I never wired nor saw a single house that had any type of inappropriate, let's say, video surveillance. And I'll define that for you. Inappropriate surveillance would mean in a bathroom, a bedroom, or any private area of the house. So she did detail that her job with Epstein was like to be the property manager, essentially. She's saying none of the properties she ever saw cameras in inappropriate positions. Ash did make a point last night that doesn't mean there were other people who were installing those cameras, like other intel agencies or something. And that's true. It's possible. But she's saying she wasn't aware of any of it. Notable.
Did that just say she put the electronics in?
She put the electricians
in for the work.
Yeah. She would hire people to come do stuff at these properties.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you ever see any of these people with underage women? No. So the reason I'm saying that is not to avoid the question, but it's because by the time when you were talking in the 90s, I don't think he was there. She does go into this weird story, like the guy that she knew to be Epstein in the 90s when she first started working for him changed in the late 90s when he started taking testosterone. And she said, well, I mean, it's possible that he started to be more, I don't know how to say this, more aggressive with women later on, but she still thought he had a sexual issue and couldn't have sex for the most part. Yeah, she claims she never saw any of the underage women. She never saw anybody being abused. She never saw anything having to do with blackmail. She claims any relationship that would have taken place was consensual because she never saw a masseuse come out after a massage looking unhappy or not come back. Everybody that was there was always a repeat masseuse. And so she's like, if you were being raped or whatever, and he's like this prolific, I just can't imagine why you would return. I thought that was interesting. And then she was also asked if he was FBI or had a source or was a source for the FBI and also CIA. And she said no to all that stuff. She was also asked at one point if he was Mossad. And she said, no, I just don't see I could do that. She actually thought, I don't think he had the wherewithal. And I think that whole aspect of it is bullshit. So she thinks that's basically a media-driven narrative as well. And that's as far as I got through it so far. And again, it's possible she's not telling the truth here, but that's really the two options. She's either telling the truth or she's not. And if she's not telling the truth, what would her motivations be? What are the possible reasons she would have to not tell the truth?
I mean, we would certainly be speculating at that point.
Oh, and we are. That's what we're gonna do. There could be motivations that we just cannot imagine. She basically knocks down with that set of examples you gave. Those knock down the pillar claims of what people believe to be true about the Jeffrey Epstein saga. So it's very thorough in that sense. I mean, would Todd Blanche go for an interview and sit there while he was getting lied to for a long time? Did she give testimony that matches whatever might be in the files they would have already read prior? I mean, it's impossible to know. Yeah, it is impossible to know. I would think that based on the buzz surrounding the Epstein stuff right here, if the crimes that everybody wants to believe took place within the Epstein saga actually took place and she knew about it, she would admit it. Why would she not? Because that would be, in my opinion, what would give her or some sort of pardon. If she's seeking a pardon or seeking some sort of reprieve from her prison sentence, then she'd give dirt on people that could get her that reprieve, right? That's kind of how cooperating witnesses work. For the most part, if you commit a crime and you want to get a lighter sentence or something, you have to give up something on other perpetrators of the crime. You can't just be like, yeah, nothing happened. I was the only one, but I'm a cooperating witness against nothing else that happened. That's not how that works,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why. Ryo Dragon says it will cost her life. Maybe, but then she wouldn't have sat down for the interview in the first place. She's been asking for it, she said, for 5 years. People knew she was asking for it. Why didn't they kill her before she got to Todd Blanche?
You know, I was saying to you before the show, it always strikes me as weird how she got picked up from this house in New Hampshire that had been purchased with cash within the year before she got picked up from there. And that alone is, if she was in witness protection or something like that, that sort of scenario would make sense. I don't know what other scenarios would make sense. Maybe she just has a friend who's some kind of benefactor or an intel agency or something that was trying to help her hide out. But I don't know what beyond that would cause her to go live in a house that has no real estate record.
Yeah, that is weird. But, you know, these powerful people, they do that shit with cash.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that there's a lot of money flowing around this stuff. And I know she went to prison, guys. Like, I'm not saying there wasn't a reason she went to prison. Her charges were, what were they? They were trafficking of a minor, transportation of a minor, a conspiracy to entice minors, a lot of sex trafficking stuff. So, I mean, I'm not saying she shouldn't be in prison. I'm saying the blackmail apparatus or the blackmail aspect of this, according to her, didn't exist. A lot of the narrative about this whole thing isn't what we thought it was, according to Ghislaine. There was another interesting part of this too, where she talked about where things started to like get weird, like with the younger girls and stuff. And she wasn't the one who did it. She claims it was Virginia Guffrey. I mean, they redact her name, but you can figure it out. In the period of time from when she came back to when she left, he asked her to replace herself as his masseuse or whatever she's doing, talking about Guffrey. And she brought the first replacement for her. That would have been one of the accusers in my case. I think it would have been, what's the name? And then everyone who came subsequent to her or simultaneously, if she wasn't the first, I don't know. Every single person who came to Epstein's house came through Virginia Guffrey and her boyfriend, Tony. And that they're talking about Tony Figueroa, who is Guffrey's, was Guffrey's boyfriend at the time. And that's how it all started. So I don't know, it's just weird, man. I don't know what to think. It's hard for me to like believe anything we see anywhere. Obviously, like we question everything. I'm just trying to understand the motivations for, let's just say she is lying and she is covering up for this huge scandal. Who is she covering for? And why would she do that when she, I don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of this story that we just don't know. And when that's the case, I try to look through all of the things that I think to be true and figure out how I came to those positions. And if the way is that I read it in a lawsuit or heard it on the Tucker Carlson show or saw it in a Netflix documentary, take this situation out of the picture, none of those would be reliable sources of information in order to be able to firm or to accept, take on a firm belief about what was actually happening. These are all really bad and unreliable sources. And I don't know which part of this story came through good, checkable, reliable sources. We can't get the quote unquote Epstein files to the extent they even exist. But even if we could, what would it mean? We saw the JFK files, the MLK files, the RFK files, and there was virtually nothing new. These stories are like multi-level deep psyops at their inception, not to mention 20 years later after they've gone through this many cycles. I don't know what to make of any of this stuff right now. Donald Trump was out there in the Oval Office 2 days ago saying quite clearly that the whole thing was a hoax.
Yeah, and this is the part, like I see people in the chat saying, well, she's clearly covering for the deep state. She's clearly covering for the deep state and like, you know, she doesn't want to get hurt or killed or whatever. But then you got to ask, why is Trump and all these TV characters that you said we like and don't like, why are they also then covering for the deep state? Because Trump's like not afraid to go after the deep state. He's calling out all the people in the intelligence community. He's clearly not afraid to talk shit about people that he sees to be an enemy. He's never been afraid to do that. Why is he all of a sudden now afraid to do that with the Epstein stuff? So which is Trump and all these people, are they all lying along with Maxwell? Or is it possible that they're all telling the truth?
I guess it is possible for sure. If we consider Jeffrey Epstein to be a long-running anti-Trump op on the basis that the Trump thing was conceived of a long time ago and then known about by the other side a long time ago, this sort of op, long-term, set to hit at the right time, is the sort of thing I could imagine them doing. Under that understanding, the story changes completely. And you would expect then Trump having to very carefully navigate a come down from this situation, understanding that virtually his entire base has gone hook, line, and sinker on this story.
Yeah. Ash says, question, why did they do Maxwell and Bolton on the same day? Bolton's story largely buried because of Maxwell. Maybe. I don't know. Max or the Bolton thing got a lot of play. Like,
yeah, it was kind of, that was the morning story, and then Ghislaine was the afternoon story.
Yeah, they both got a decent amount of play. I don't know. This goes back to one of the first things I said when I saw the Kash Patel's interview. I'm a fan of Kash Patel because obviously Patel Patriot, like whether the feeling's mutual or not, I am a fan of Kash Patel. And when I saw that interview, I was like, guys, we might be seeing a rug here. We have to go back and look at, like, where did the Epstein lore come from? What actually, like, how did that originate? Because it's possible that it's not going to be true. And I'm seeing it again here in our chat. Like, just because something isn't feeding your confirmation bias, it doesn't mean that it's not true. And I'm not saying necessarily what Ghislaine Maxwell is saying is true. I don't know. That's a possibility we have to entertain, that we have been duped from the beginning on this story, and it's not what we thought it was.
Yeah, I think that we should be as careful to examine the messaging coming from what we perceive to be our side as we are about the messaging that we perceive to be from the other side. And these things are very difficult to discern. I'm not saying that I'm perfect at it by any stretch of the imagination. It's impossible to be perfect at it. But it is important to attempt to discern. And if we are going to trust people like the ones who've been communicating this story to us, and I want to focus on the past few years, I don't find any of those people to be trustworthy in any other domain that I'm exploring. So I don't know why I would trust them in this one. It's just a consensus opinion that a lot of people have adopted.
Yeah. And I will say, I think the most important, like, time in your life to be critical of information you're receiving is when it's information that doesn't feed your confirmation bias. Like, that's the most important part. If you're only accepting information that feeds your confirmation bias, you're doomed for failure. You just are. And we're getting a lot of Rumble rants on this. Alpha Warrior Show, whoever that guy is. Maybe this is a troll. Can we ban people who give Rumble rants? Is that a thing? The existing Epstein investigation is a hoax/fraud. The RICO investigations unfolding now will be the real investigation into Epstein, etc. Maybe.
Could be.
But what happens, Alpha, if it comes out that that's not true? Like, what if we find out the entire RICO thing, it doesn't have any of the Epstein stuff in there? Then what?
Yeah,
I'll wait for another $2 rant from Alpha.
Yeah, Trump calling it a hoax repeatedly by this point. First, it was just the Epstein files is a hoax. Now it's the whole thing is a hoax. That's what he said in his words. And you have to at least consider the possibility that he's telling the truth.
Yeah. And yeah, it's not. Trump and Maxwell are telling the same story here, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, there's multiple times in the interview. If you read it, guys, I've read the material. I know not everybody has, but she's basically like, a lot of this has been blown out of proportion in the media. Like, that's kind of the phrase she uses. I'm not trying to, like, yank anybody's chain. Decode curious. It's not that I'm believing her, but it's like, you got to examine both sides. You have to.
Yeah.
Because we don't know what we don't know.
Otherwise, what we end up with is a list of subjects that we're just not allowed to approach with a critical eye, no matter how fully ingrained the beliefs are, especially because the beliefs are so fully ingrained. We have to be able to question every part of it. That's just something that we have to commit to doing at all times. It's only responsible to do it that way. If this was a life or death decision, if the stakes for us personally were much higher, we would be very careful about how we're forming a belief or making a decision. And I would suggest that we can apply that to less important topics and still be just as diligent in our decision-making and analysis process.
Yeah, just based on the reaction from the chat, like, why is it that people are so upset about this topic? Like, why do you think that is, Chris?
Well, because I think that a lot of people have identified themselves with trutherism and being a Trump supporter and following Q or whatever as like, at the end of this road, we save all these trafficked children. And so there is this important goal that I think we all share down at the end of that thing. And I think that a lot of people were anticipating reaching the end of that thing. I would just say, and I think I said this probably a few weeks ago, at the same time that this is happening, the Trump administration is actually taking down various human traffickers, child traffickers, etc. I would be more concerned about the systematic trafficking of humans, drugs, weapons, and more all around the world by the criminal enterprise, and whether or not that is being shut down. Because systematic child trafficking is that's the big issue. This idea that celebrities have been blackmailed, that's very much focused on the fact that these people are famous, and it's very salacious.
Yeah, Ash says in the chat, I thought this is kind of funny. For the same reason that people think they like kale, it's marketing.
Could be. Yeah.
I like that too. Yeah, guys, I don't know. We can move on from this.
Sure.
But again, I'm going to keep going through the Maxwell transcripts just because it's interesting, and we haven't had any recent Rico Grande stuff to go through, so I have to do something, right? And I'm going to post.
Responded to you, by the way. Sorry.
Okay, what do you say? Because she was charged with perjury counts, later dropped. No DOJ would ever weigh her statements in a real case. Questioning her was for separate purpose. What do you mean they would never weigh her statements in a real case? Like, how do you know that?
Yeah. I don't know if former perjury charges from a corrupt legal system would put them off like that.
Because here's the thing, Alpha. What if she came out in this transcript? What if, and she was like, yes, I saw Bill Clinton raping kids, and I saw this person raping kids, and she just dropped a whole bunch of testimony raping kids. The entire conversation around this transcript would be completely different, and everybody would be like, oh my gosh, look at all, like, it would be the biggest thing ever, and everybody would be losing their damn minds over it. But it's because she didn't feed the narrative that everybody wants it to be. Everybody's like, oh, she's just full of shit, she's lying. Like that's kind of my point here, is where people aren't willing to accept the fact that she's potentially telling the truth here, because if that's true, it doesn't feed into the narrative that somebody told me I need to stop using the word confirmation bias. So I'm going to try to not do that right here. It doesn't feed into the narrative that we have come to believe surrounding the Epstein files.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just, I don't know, Alpha. I don't know if I buy that excuse. Tempered wisdom. What if she was given a deal by Trump to tell that story, to get all the guilty to be put at ease and make mistakes, and then have a hammer dropped on them?
Well, sure, but you can always propose that.
Yeah, you could. That's excusing potential bad behavior and lies. Like, I don't like it. I don't like it.
I mean, sure, that's possible, but maybe it's a low probability possibility. There's certainly no evidence to suggest that that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, not even a rationale behind it. It is a possibility, We don't know what the truth is. So there's a range of possibilities. And it's important to identify all those possibilities and explore them and take them seriously and try on the ideas in a real way and see if they fit with what else you know. You know, is it possible that this is, as Donald Trump says, all a hoax? It is possible. I don't think it's impossible that everybody got hoodwinked, even in the truth community. It's entirely possible that people got hoodwinked. That is dependent on a rigid and effective epistemology, right? The ability not to get hoodwinked is centered in the ability not to form beliefs when they appeal to us, you know? So the epistemology problem, even within the truth community, has not been solved. People often assume that whatever conclusions they've come to in their research now constitute real facts and everything else can be built on top of that. That's just not true. That's not how facts are formed.
That's brilliant, man. Somebody needs to clip that. Whoever you have doing your clips needs to clip that. So that's a great point.
Yeah, that's like, this is one of the major things that I've been focused on over the last few years. How do we form these beliefs? Okay. Strip away all the stuff that you can't substantiate through direct knowledge, first principles, and sound logic. If you get rid of all that stuff and then see what's left, it's not going to be the same story. You know,
it's not gonna be much.
And it's important to build up from the bottom only with things we know, not just assume because everybody believes something from the top that everything underneath it is true. That the fact that it is convinced a whole range of people is not in itself any evidence toward it being true.
Yeah. And that's one of the problems with the 2024 election is it reverted us backwards. We took steps backwards because of Trump winning, because of what you just said right there.
Well, yeah. And I mean, that's part of what getting the hose again is. You know, if we're unwilling to accept the truth and act in correspondence with it, if we're going to pretend that our elections are real and continue giving our consent to be governed and our power over to people who are unelected, well, we're going to keep getting the same bad results. If we're going to keep forming belief based on some things that align with our side, that people that we like on our side have said, we're going to keep getting hoodwinked.
Forever psyops, man. That's what we signed up for, right?
It's all psyops up and down. I am 100% with that. And you know what? A lot of people get upset when you say that, and not so much anymore. I think everybody's done a great job of understanding that actually, a lot more things than we thought are fake. But I don't think it should be. I don't think that has to be upsetting. It actually, we could look at it as some kind of weight coming off of our shoulders. We don't actually have to form strong opinions about all the bullshit we see on television and then center our lives around it.
Do you think what we see on the news, do you think any of it has any basis in reality?
You have to at least explore the possibility that it doesn't. You know, it is entirely possible that the people who control the world have created, incentivized, coerced the perfect execution of a totally false op. I mean, all of politics could just be a reality show. That is entirely possible. And we are totally focused on that reality show now that it's been federalized to the point where we ignore what's going on in our own communities.
So essentially, we could all be Trumans within the Truman Show all at the same time. That's kind of like that's something that we should be exploring. And I don't disagree. I will say I do find it hard to believe that everything we see is totally made up and fake. While I explore that being impossible with everything, I do personally tend to believe that there's some sort of reality or kernel of truth in most stories, and then it's just each side twists it to fit the narrative that they are trying to push, to fit their overarching narrative. There's a bunch of sub narratives and whatnot, but whatever main narrative, like Trump is Nazi, dictator, all these things, whatever story comes out is the kernel of truth is twisted to fit that narrative for the bad guys. And then same thing happens on our side and at different levels across the info war.
It certainly could be that.
Yeah. But your explanation too, I mean, you're right. Just in terms of like how we examine information we receive, we need to be doing that, like examining all sides. Otherwise you're failing as an info warrior.
I want to share this just really quick. I've been reading the book Nihilism by Father Seraphim Rose, and a lot of people in the chat will probably be familiar with him. But I read this the other night on page 21, and there's, pause your screen, read it if you want, but I just want to focus on one piece of this here. It says one stage of nihilism opposes itself to another, not to combat it effectively, but to incorporate its errors into its own program and carry mankind one step further on the road to the abyss that lies at the end of all nihilism. And so this is a slightly different context, but he's talking about how these controlled opposition dynamics get set up ultimately. You present these alternative views, and the assumption then is that there is something underlying that is actually true. You can look at a cable news show. What are they doing? What is Scott Jennings doing when he's bickering with 4 communists on a cable show? Well, he is representing the other acceptable option for everyone in there. They might get mad at him, and as soon as, and that's fine. But the people at home are going to say, okay, well, that position, you're allowed to say that thing in public, so I'm going to say that. It's just appealing to people's, I guess, to their emotional needs to believe certain things, and they just make 10 varieties of the story or 1,000 varieties of the story. And then whichever one you adopt, what underlies that is just going to be taken as an assumption.
So is this the idea of like controlled opposition?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely one of the critical aspects of controlled opposition.
Because you talk about that a lot too, is like how the right and the left, like the uniparty right, the uniparty left, they are both leading us towards like the same end game where we're all fucked essentially. And Trump is the one that's trying to navigate that. And you talk about the drafting and stuff quite a bit. Do you want to examine that a little further with
which? Yeah, sure. I mean, sure. Which part? The drafting thing?
Well, not just the drafting, but like the controlled opposition dynamic that we see unfolding. So this is an issue that we still have going on today. And I don't know how we break away from the forever psyops and the hoodwinking. Man,
without resolving this.
Yeah, you have so many awesome terms. You need to start putting on merch, man.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm trying to write the book.
Yeah, I can't wait for that, by the way. Thanks. Do you have an ETA on when that'll be done?
I mean, I would love to do it by the end of the year, but the more I get into it, I don't know, man. Could be like some George R.R. Martin shit.
Oh,
don't be done with it in 2030.
Don't do that.
I don't think that's gonna happen. I hope that's not gonna happen.
But you should discuss that, because your thought process on navigating the controlled opposition dynamic and how we have to overcome that at some point to move out of the psyopery, whatever. That's like one of the crucial stages we have to get through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there is still a controlled opposition op that is deeply embedded in MAGA, and that has been planned all along as the way to divert the movement post-Trump. Put an acceptable replacement in there and then move on with the program. So with the drafting thing, a good way to talk about it is I believe that what Donald Trump is doing is attempting to hijack the Great Reset. I presented an alternate viewpoint on that last week, that the Great Reset narrative, as it's being projected from places of regime power, is just a cover story on their side to make us reject the thing our side is actually doing. And it could be that. But otherwise, I think of it as like a train running through a canyon in an old Western, and 2 gangs of two outlaw gangs are running down the sides of the canyon on either side. They both reach the train at the same time. And then because they both want to rob the train. And then there's a shootout on the train and only one of those teams survives. Well, I think that we've had those teams identified for us pretty well. Donald Trump Eric Trump went on War Room the morning after the military parade and said that his father was the greatest rhino hunter of all time to Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon has also spent the entire Trump term talking about the inevitable split between MAGA and this tech utopian thing that is latched to the side of MAGA, attempting to wear MAGA as a skin suit, use it as a vehicle to get themselves back in power. And as far as I see that tech utopian thing on the quote unquote right, and it's not on the right, that's just an enemy op. And so are we drafting on that thing, or is that thing drafting on MAGA is the question.
What do you think? Like, which is drafting on who? Because I don't know. I think they're drafting on Trump, which is the face of MAGA. Like, Trump ignited something pretty special with the MAGA movement, the America First movement, and it would make sense. It's not that it didn't exist before, but it never really had a place or a face, and now it does. So it makes sense that they would draft onto that.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they're able to legitimately, or I should say effectively, make that their identity, make MAGA their identity. Once that thing is joined together, well, as soon as Trump's gone, then the MAGA base no longer has the voice they had, and they can essentially just take the base, call everybody a fringe MAGA extremist, a racist, sexist, homophobe, anti-Semitic, and all the rest of it, and pretend that that was just this small portion and move forward. And people are just going to get back on the same Democrat-Republican train that they were riding on before. I think that's the regime plan. That is the most effective possible plan that they could have. Yeah.
And then it just becomes, how does Trump break away from that? And you got to think that's his goal. Like, at some point, this is the part that drives me nuts. Like, there's so many things that we need to see accomplished. And, the closer we get to the midterms and then the next election, like, we really don't have that much time. Yeah. Although a lot of it could happen in a pretty short windfall, but man, it's concerning.
Well, if we focus only on the narrative war and not on the situations that arise in the news from day to day that make us happy or sad or angry or whatever, I think that we can avoid being hoodwinked by simply withholding our belief on everything that comes through the screen.
Yeah. Ghost says, I think if we don't liberate ourselves from the control of the diaspora represented in the form of Israel, then we have lost the war. Could agree with that. Black Hat Destroyer says, don't allow yourselves to be subverted by false narrative deployments meant to subvert your minds. Something we all struggle with. There's another really good comment in the chat I want to. Ash says, sure, curious, but that's not really connected to the point now, is it? Oh, maybe that was for somebody else. All right. Well, I think that's, we can move on from the Epstein discussion. I think that was good, though. I think more people need to start thinking the way you just presented. Let's do one quick sponsor, unless you have any final thoughts.
No. Let's go ahead.
Okay. We'll do one quick sponsor, and then we'll get into, I want to talk John Durham before we do Bolton and Letitia James and some of those other things. And that next sponsor is Chef IQ. These guys are great. My kitchen is pretty much like just loaded with their stuff right now. The moment of truth when everyone sits down at the table and you brace yourself while they cut into their meat. Will there be raw chicken drama? Did you just ruin $100 worth of steaks? How bad does the salmonella get? That's all changed with Chef IQ Sense. It's the wireless cooking thermometer that turns you in to a master chef. It works for all types of cooking, grilling, pan searing, roasting, everything. It's so easy. You just insert the sensor into your steak, chicken, fish, whatever you're cooking. Open the Chef IQ app. Choose how you want it cooked, rare, medium, well done, any preference. With multiple probes, everyone gets exactly what they want. Then you can just sit back and relax. Sends real-time updates, tells you when to flip, when to take it off the grill, even how long you have to let it rest. It's like having a culinary coach in your pocket. No more guessing, no more lid lifting, no more dinner disasters. Chef IQ Sense is precision cooking for everyone. Trust me, you'll wonder how you ever cooked without it. And right now you can get a 15% off site-wide with the code DPH at chefiq.com. That's chefiq.com, promo code DPH. And yeah, I will say that it has revolutionized the dinner game in the Herold household. My girlfriend's been using that thing like crazy and nothing bad so far.
Yeah, it's a genius device. Let me say one more thing about the tech thing, because a bunch of people were bringing up Palantir and Peter Thiel and Alex Karp. And
aren't you reading a book on that right now?
Of course, JD Vance. Yeah, I'm reading Alex Karp's book. I think it's called Technological Republic. Just came out within the past year. And I'm a little over halfway through it at this point. And it really is very, very dumb. It's a stupid book written to appeal to stupid people and promote a pro-Palantir narrative. It is an attempted world creation of that reality that will help Palantir the most. It's an argument that our Silicon Valley tech oligarchs have been so consumed with these products and apps that make our lives a little bit easier and maximizing their financial output and the rest of that. And of course, there are those motivations, but he wants everybody to come together on a shared vision of what the West should be, and then have everyone working, government and Silicon Valley, together to advance that cause. And after reading this up to that point today, I went online, and let me see if I can find the post. Actually, you know what? Forget it. I basically just said, if you are focused solely on protecting the quote unquote West, that is something different than America First. That's something different than MAGA or any of that. That is America plus these other countries who represent our traditional allies, even despite the fact that we can see they're not our allies.
Yeah, this is your post right here. Constantly discussing the protection of the West is a sleight of hand trick by people who are unwilling to align with America First.
Yeah, you look at a guy like Douglas Murray, for instance. He wants to protect the West, but MAGA is very bad. Alex Karp, he wants to protect the West through his military technology, and it's always the West, the West, the West, the West, the West. Well, how about just America? Is it good for America? And even beyond whether or not it's good, if he is right about how the world is, the question is whether or not it's right.
Yeah. And you got to imagine Trump sees what these people are doing, yet we have like Palantir getting access to all of our data, which they probably already had before anyway. What does that make what Trump is doing in that situation? Then is it an exposure op? Does he need people to get all pissed off about Palantir having access to all our data? Like what is going on with that? And I do see the technological advancements that are being made. And we talked about this at Guard a little bit, like the future of everything, future of technology, future of intelligence community. It's hard to imagine a scenario in the future where it turns out to be what Ted Kaczynski had presented to us. Like, his presentation of the Industrial Revolution and it like enslaving us. I guess that is what it is becoming what he presented. His solution to it is not what I think we're gonna have. It's not going anywhere. That's essentially what I'm trying to say. Technology is not going anywhere. We have to learn to adapt and live with it. And I think Trump understands that. He's making all these executive orders with energy. He's invested in multiple companies now, the United States government, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, where we are basically like in federalizing essentially the manufacturing of rare earth materials and what they are used to make, which is the chips, which go into the Bitcoin and like all these other things. Like he is fully on board, if not leading the charge on that train, taking a huge step forward where previous administrations, including his own, have lacked in the past. So he's like adopted this full bore. But where do we end up at the end of this when these tech bros are potentially trying to subvert that vision and create their own.
Well, yeah, I mean, they certainly want to dominate the market on high-tech production, no matter what the outcome of all this is. I think it's really interesting as a delivery system, a narrative delivery system, the nationalization in some sense of what is it? Intel, the DOD is taking 10%. Is that what it is?
Yes,
or is there an investment?
Yeah. So under the Biden administration, they were given a bunch of grants and loans and stuff. And I believe what took place here is Lutnick negotiated with them. And remember, it was kind of weird how the story played out because Trump talked shit about this Intel CEO being like, yeah, this guy's basically tied to China. He's got a whole bunch of personal investments in China and the CCP. This is concerning. They had a meeting at the White House like a week ago. I think not this last Friday, yesterday, but the week before that. And the meeting, he came out of the meeting. He didn't really talk shit about him. He's just like, yeah, interesting man, interesting upbringing. We're going to have to discuss this more. And then within a week now, they've converted those investments or loans that we gave them, grants, into a 10% ownership of Intel, which is the largest, like the United States government is now the largest shareholder in Intel. And this is like a couple months after the DOD made this huge investment and became the largest shareholder in MP Minerals at a 40% stake. The only, as far as I'm aware, currently the only rare earth mineral mining company in the United States. Like that's interesting. The first two major sectors that we're making investments in, if you call them that, are in the rare earth and chip manufacturing field. That is notable. But sorry.
It is absolutely notable. Yeah, that's the key there. Because the narrative that we are going to get in the future, if there is a push, and I think that everybody kind of anticipates this, but it could be the thing that just never arrives, the China, quote unquote, invasion into Taiwan. We already have the one China policy, so that'll be very weird. But to the extent that they're able to convince people to support military intervention on behalf of Taiwan against China in a direct confrontation in China's homeland, it would be based on being able to maintain a supply of these chips, right?
Oh, totally. And that's what's so interesting. You go back to what Robert O'Brien said back in 2022, I think it was, or maybe 2023. He was doing an interview and they were talking about this. And he's like, yeah, if China ever invades Taiwan, we're just going to blow up those facilities. Like they're not going to be allowed to last. And like that was like a promise. And I think he meant it. Obviously, Robert O'Brien served a key role. NSA, we talk about him a lot in the Devolution series. But every day that goes by where China doesn't invade Taiwan, they lose their competitive advantage on what it means to the entire chip industry, whether those manufacturing plants get destroyed or not. Like they are allowing Trump to establish chip manufacturing here domestically, which like why would they do that? It's almost like they're waiting to invade Taiwan until Trump gets a footing here. And then once he has the footing, it doesn't matter whether or not like those chip manufacturers are destroyed. That's when we're going to see Taiwan be invaded by China. Like that's what it seems like is playing out.
Yeah, that's the I agree with you. That is how it seems to be playing out.
Yeah, I should almost find that clip, but that's always a disaster to find. But anyway, what were you saying about that? Or did I just hijack it? I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I just think that this story in particular is going to tell the country, well, we can't run out of chips. We have the minerals and we have the chip manufacturer. So we're good on chips. There's no need for us to go engage in a confrontation with a pure country superpower on these microprocessors.
Yeah. And again, I'm still curious to see how the Ukraine-Russia deal works out in our favor with the rare earth minerals, because I do believe that's going to be our like price for negotiating or playing negotiator role, because we're not going to do it for free. Trump's not going to do that. And we've done just like this deal right here, how with Intel, like we gave them all this money during the Biden administration, we promised them all this money and they turned that into a 10% equity stake in it. I feel like it's going to be something like we've given you Ukraine now like $350-400 billion or something. That is going to be our equity stake, kind of that proposal that was presented a couple months ago that Trump wanted. That's going to be our equity stake in whatever is situated over there after this deal is concluded, whether that's Russia or Ukraine coming up. But thanks to Peace over on the YouTube chat for $5 from the fans of DPH on YouTube. Great show. Thank you, sir. Yeah, anyway. Any other thought? Otherwise, we can move on to John Durham.
Yeah, I guess we can move on. I thought there was something else I wanted to say, but I can't think of it right now.
Yeah, me too. But we got another one. Watery Tart. It's a fun name. You two are the best. YouTube wants Una, please. Ask and you shall receive. You'll have to forgive me. I didn't realize that person was 1 cent under our $5 Una threshold. But I suppose we'll allow it this one time. In the future, we will not allow that. But yeah, let's real quick talk. Let's talk Durham. So John Solomon has been on fire lately, which, by the way, we should maybe play that clip from John Solomon because he's the one who came out with this story. And this clip is pretty fascinating. We could have almost used this as an outro, but I'm going to play it. It's about 3 minutes long. Or not.
That was strange.
Perhaps the most profound moment of the last decade of my career occurred in March of 17. I had just done a story that got Sean Hannity's attention. So I was on Fox News. It was about a rapid rise in unmaskings where Americans' intelligence is looked at, even though there's no warrant. They unmask your name and they know what you said to someone overseas and they don't get a warrant for it. And it had gone up like 200-300% in the last year of Barack Obama, which is very odd. It was odd to the FISA court. That's why they put the data out. They were concerned that this is a trend. I just thought it was a good civil liberties story, so I wrote it. And at that point, I had been repeatedly told that don't waste your time on Russia collusion. It's going nowhere. And by the way, from some of the most senior leaders of the FBI and the Justice Department, the very people who might also have gone out and told us there was something there when there wasn't. But they were telling me it wasn't. Got home about 10:45, 11 o'clock at night. My wife's already in bed. I pull in the driveway and there's a blue sedan sitting in front of my mailbox with its yellow fog lights on. And I pull in the driveway and these two GI men get out of their car. It's about 11 o'clock at night. And as I'm getting out of my car, say, "Are you Mr. Solomon?" I'm like, I don't know. Am I being arrested? What's going on? They get throw cuffs on me. Did I break some classified secret I shouldn't today? And they're like, "You don't know who we are. We can't tell you who we are, but you're at the tip of a very large iceberg and we hope you drill into it." And I'm like, "What in God's name are you guys talking about?" "Well, that thing you were reporting on television tonight." And yeah, it's a FISA court filing. It is the apex of a very large scandal and you need to drill down in it. And all right, walk me through this, guy. "Well, we can't tell you. It's all classified." "Okay, that's not very helpful. Can you give me something of more generic description?" "Yeah, we work in the intelligence committee and our agencies were asked to participate in one of the greatest political dirty tricks in history. And if it isn't stopped, and one day when it is uncovered, we will lose the tools that keep you and I safe at night. We won't be able to find terrorists and we won't find spies because these tools will be taken from us because we abused them in the last couple of years." I'm like, holy mackerel, what's going on here? And so they couldn't give me much more detail, but they inspired me to start wondering about whether I was missing something big. And I got home by that time and there were 20 minutes. It was about 11:20 at night. From 11:20 at night to 2 in the morning, I wrote a long email to my then work sister, Sarah Carter, who was just a fantastic reporter, now the drug czar for President Trump. And I just tried to remember everything they told me, like, "Sarah, I don't know what the hell these guys are trying to tell us, but tomorrow morning, let's wake up and find out." And that sent us on our journey.
I mean, that's a fascinating story. Like, who the hell were those guys? Number one. But this makes me think of just two things quick. Again, I want to remind people of. Number one is that Russiagate binder story that we've talked about many times. But John Solomon was the guy after Trump declassified all the Russiagate stuff. Meadows brought him the binder of Russiagate stuff. He was making copies. See right here, John Solomon claims that on the night of January 19th, Meadows invited him to the White House to review several hundred pages of declassified binder. One of Solomon's staffers was even allowed to leave the White House with the declassified records in a paper bag. He began scanning. And then Social Security or Secret Service called and said, "Hey, we need them back." The Postal Buyers going to come back like now. The documents were returned the next morning after they were picked up by a Secret Service agent in a Whole Foods grocery bag. But also one thing to point out is that while Trump was away during the Devo term, Trump named John Solomon one of his liaisons to the National Archives. It was him and Kash Patel were the two liaisons. This guy's in the know, okay? He's been dropping a whole bunch of truth bombs, a whole bunch of D-class stuff. I think he's had these stories written he had 4 years to write these stories of how they're going to D-class this stuff while Trump was away. And I do think it was that coordinated and organized. But one interesting one that just came out had to do with, they've been really hitting Schiff pretty hard lately. And a recent story is that Adam Schiff gave the green light to basically publicize and give to the New York Times classified material. Sorry. And he, let me find my post on this. Might be the easiest way to do it. Hold for processing. And if you have anything you want to add, you can feel free.
Well, just about that Solomon clip, I was on board with it the entire time until he explained the motivation of the intelligence community for wanting this story to get out. They said this story needs to get out essentially so that we can protect our access to these tools that are for keeping you guys safe.
That's an interesting way to put it. Because didn't they say the same thing? Like, we need to figure out who did 9/11 so that we can keep you guys safe.
It's like when they oh man, with the way that they interact with our elections. I lost my train of thought. Continue.
Okay. Well, I had lost mine too, but I think I was going to talk about this. So anyway, so there's a story that gets leaked to the New York Times. Criminal referral is put forth. They ended up hiring our John Durham. I'm saying our John Durham is in the guy who did like the John Durham special counsel, the John Durham report. He's the one who's hired before he's named as special counsel to investigate the leak of this classified info. And the reason they do that is because they believe it's at least one of the subjects of the investigation is a former senior FBI official who previously worked in the National Security Department. So they did it to avoid a potential conflict of interest or an appearance thereof. Okay. He joined up with the United States Postal Inspection Service to do this investigation, which I thought was interesting. But throughout the investigation, they get testimony that this James Baker was under the belief that he was ultimately instructed and authorized to give this classified information to the New York Times by then Director James Comey. And it was FBI Chief of Staff James Rybicki who actually did the instruction. But either way, like at the end of their investigation, Durham gets this memo. He gives it to Whitaker, who's the acting attorney general before he's the one between Sessions and Barr. And the memo recommended no prosecution of Baker or anyone else for this leak of classified info, even though he had Baker admitting he leaked it. He said he was instructed by Rybicki and that he believed Rybicki told him to do it on behalf of James Comey, yet no recommendation for prosecution. And I just like, what the hell? Like, what is the standard for fucking prosecution in terms of John Durham? Like, where this investigation, which I think is a slam dunk, and then the entire Durham stuff. Like, there's so many things that we know. Now, I understand the rebuttal I'm going to get is like, it's all about the timing. It's all about the timing. I get it. But this is March of 2017. I think he finished the investigation in early 2018 or something. Like, this is before the Mueller report concluded. This is before all that. Like, this is around the same time as the Mueller report or the Mueller investigation was kicking off, the Mueller special counsel. It's nothing. Not a single thing. What could that possibly mean other than like John Durham isn't who we thought he was either? Like, that's the conclusion I come to.
Yeah, I mean, we're hearing from Solomon, the same source, about the kind of Rico Grande thing. And so if Durham's work, as we've theorized for years now, is being held back to be used as part of that RICO case, you could see why they would want to keep their cards a bit closer to their chest.
Sure.
I remembered, of course, the thing that I was going to say, which was, we're told that people are pursuing election integrity to restore our faith in elections. That's very similar in my mind to the intelligence community wanting to increase faith in the intelligence community, like disclosure for that purpose, which means basically that we're going to get a limited hangout, and the people who supply us the limited hangout are then the new trusted people because they've told us the thing that is at least closer to what it is we believe. So sorry, I didn't mean to take that totally off track.
No, that was really good though. But one thing about John Durham, something you said there before you went into that, about like what we believed about the Durham report and the Durham investigation. You know, like he was doing it in DC. He knew he couldn't get a conviction, and so a lot of the stuff was kind of wrapped up into a nice little tidy package. There was classified parts of it, which we've seen now, but it was kind of being saved for later, and it's definitely going to be part of this bigger Rico Grande investigation. Now, if we're making that same excuse, and I'm not saying that's even an excuse, that could actually be what's going on, but regardless, whatever that is, if that same template is being applied to this specific investigation, that would make things even more interesting, honestly, because it means that they've been planning to do it this way for much longer than we even realized. Like, you know, when I've always speculated about the devolution stuff, like when did they know? I think they had the stuff in place ready and the possibility, but they still waited until like they saw them stealing the election when he came out that night on November 5th or whatever it was, and was like so disappointed, like, I can't believe they're doing this. It was sometime in that time frame, like in the next couple weeks or so, that they were like, yeah, we got to do it. We got a full bore. We're going to let him get in here. That's like when the devolution stuff kicked off, in my opinion. But if they were saving like stuff like this for that long, like that tells me they were probably planning the devolution term much longer than we originally thought, which is totally possible. It's just it is a little more difficult to believe, but it's possible for sure.
It's definitely possible, especially when you consider the RICO element. If we heard about Rudy Giuliani going after the mob in New York, the mafia, we can use that as kind of a parallel. You know, you don't go arrest and take down all the low level and mid-level people one by one as you get finally a solid case on them that you could prosecute. You're going to wait on all of that accountability so that you can climb the ladder, so that you're actually getting the people at the top when it's time to make the move. And maybe it all comes down at once. I mean, beyond that pattern, I don't know, but I think that that's a plausible explanation for why many more people haven't been arrested and prosecuted, at least as far as the public knows. Because again, it's entirely possible that they could be doing that behind the scenes. And I'm sure that you guys talked about the JAG officers embedded now into the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C. I mean, I
don't think we did on Wednesday.
Okay. Well, that's basically like the private court of our unaccountable federal city. So that is kind of a big deal based on what comes under their jurisdiction.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely discussed that on my show, but I don't think we discussed it on the Power. I don't remember. I don't even remember what we talked about on Wednesday, but yeah, that is certainly notable. And one thing to keep in mind here. So, like, I want what Durham is and what he represents and what he did to be like, it's part of this bigger investigation. He's a good dude. Like, it wasn't the right time. I've believed that for a long time, even if I've become more skeptical just as a whole lately with some of that stuff. It doesn't mean I don't want that to be true or think it's a possibility. And let's just assume that is for certain. And the same thing can be said about this investigation here. It's all part of the larger thing. Then what does it say about Bill Barr, who a lot of people want to hate? A lot of people think he's a bad dude. Why did he appoint Durham to be the special counsel in the first place after he did this investigation? Like, what does that mean for him? Like, if this one was for the timing's sake and need to be wrapped up in this, save for later, they picked the same guy who did the Comey investigation and came to the conclusion that there's no charges. If you want to believe Bill Barr's a black hat, then he chose Durham to be a black hat too, right? Like, a black hat wouldn't pick a white hat, even though the whole white hat black hat game is stupid. Barr wouldn't pick a white hat as a black hat himself to run the most important investigation looking into the Crossfire Hurricane stuff to date. unless that just doesn't make sense. That's a contradiction. And also there's a clip from Bill Barr on Glenn Beck that came out. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
Okay, I'm going to show you this. Hold on. I don't know if you have any comment on what I just said there either.
Well, I think your logic is sound. I just think that there's also some unknowns in that equation.
Yeah, and I didn't say it very well. My logic is sound. My words are stupid.
No. That's not what I said at all.
That's what I said.
Oh. I didn't think your words were stupid.
Well, I'm saying my words are stupid.
I know, but you shouldn't beat yourself up, you know? I think you're
what was that?
YouTube's there you go.
Yeah, I was just finding the right clip, the timestamp. Because he talks about Durham in here and how I'm just gonna play it, let you listen to it.
And so once I had dealt with Mueller, and that was put to bed, I immediately appointed Durham to look into that. And I knew he was tenacious and was extremely honorable and would follow the truth wherever it led. And what people don't understand, though, is that when he came on board at the beginning of the summer of 2020, the IG had not finished his investigation of crossfire hurricanes, so none of the stuff about the FBI was yet available. And it made no sense for him to start investigating that. He wanted to wait for the data dump, which is the right thing to do from the IG. So he was out looking at some other tangential things of different theories like British intelligence, Australian intelligence, Italian, some CIA stuff. People forget that the IG first said, well, it'll be ready in June. It wasn't ready in June. Ready in July, not ready. It was not provided until December, the end of 2019. That's when all that stuff got to Durham. And then what happens 3 months later? COVID shuts down all grand juries in the country. No grand juries. So if you don't have a grand jury, you can't. Or you don't have let me put it this way. I'm not going to say whether he had a grand jury or not, but what I'm going to say is if you don't have the threat of a grand jury, no one will come in and talk to you. You'll say, the usual thing is, please come in for a voluntary interview. And people come in because they know if they don't, they're subpoenaed. But if there is no grand jury, they say, no, I'm not coming in. There's nothing you can do. And people don't understand that a state of affairs lasted until the month before the election. So his hands were very much tied as to how far he could push things and how much pressure he could bring on people through most of 2020. So that's the story as to why Durham takes time. But I think there's something very important in our whole system that people are ignoring. And that is, I alluded to it earlier, the difference between the standard of proof and the method of the criminal justice system and how people actually make up their minds about things.
I do think we should listen to this next part, but I do want to stop it real quick because what he said there was kind of hysterical. Well, wasn't there a story at one point of Durham releasing like an interim report before the election? Like that was floating around a lot, I'm pretty sure. And then like, oh, well, never happened. He's not going to. They're saying that he didn't even like start his investigation essentially until like a month before the election. Yet there was rumors floating around about an interim report and the whole grand jury thing because of COVID. That's retarded. Barr sounds a little vaccinated here.
Do you think so? I thought he was just saying, like, just as a statement of fact. Well, yeah, COVID happened, and so all the grand. Yes, it is very funny. It's also funny that he was like, well, I don't want to say whether or not John Durham had a grand jury.
Yeah, that was funny. But it also makes it so like the enemy knew that there were no grand juries. I never heard of grand juries not being held across the country because of COVID. That was new to me.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I want to see.
It's been 5.5 years.
Yeah, that's been 5 years. I want to listen to this last part though. By the way, this clip just came out like a couple days ago. I don't know if it's from a new interview, but I think it was MC or McGurn or something on Twitter who tagged me in this. So thank you for doing that, by the way. But yeah, I thought the whole thing was interesting.
And I think politically, we since Watergate, the impulse of both sides is to try to get things investigated as a crime, so that will then expose the person as a criminal.
Correct.
But what they forget is, number one, you're going into a secret system that you will not find out what's going on. Number two, it takes a long time. And number three, the standard of proof is the highest you can have. And instead of where I feel what's more important is telling the American people the story. If the facts about, for example, Hunter Biden had gotten out in public, putting aside whether he was criminally liable, people would have immediately seen what's what. They can understand what's going on. It was a scuzzy, shameful behavior. But instead of focusing on telling the story and getting the story out and letting the American people reach a judgment about the moral quality of the people involved, the whole game becomes, was this a crime and what will happen in the criminal justice process, which is not really fit. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I do. Here's the question that I had for you, because I was pretty sure, but I'm no expert, obviously, didn't have any inside information, but it sure seemed like it was legit, especially when the New York Post comes out with it.
Of course.
How come, we were allowed.
We can probably stop it there unless you want to listen to the rest of it. But
No.
him talking about the story aspect of this, important. Like, that's Bill Barr talking about the narrative aspect of this. Big deal.
I was looking this video up, trying to find when it came out. I think it's from May 28th, 2022.
Okay. Yeah, they just released this clip 2 days ago, August 21st, 2025.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the full interview is from
Only 2 people in America
3 years ago, May 28th, 2022. I'll have to listen to that full thing. I don't know if I ever did back when it first came out. But yeah, chat, if you see any other trolls, tag me. I got one of them. People said there's more. Just let me know. But okay, yeah, so that's all I had on Bill Barr. I thought that was a fun discussion, though. Should we talk Bolton a little bit?
Let's definitely talk Bolton a little bit.
Okay, so Bolton had his freaking house raided 7 a.m. on the morning on, was it Friday that it happened? Was it yesterday?
The Bolton thing, yeah.
Yeah, yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his house raided. What do you want to talk about on it? I mean, I have a bunch of clips we could play.
Well, I have that Chris Hayes clip that I think we should definitely go over in a minute. But I think it's interesting for a couple of reasons. First of all, the early morning raid on his home was very similar to the Roger Stone raid a few years back. People got warnings about both of those in advance. I also thought it was really interesting going after Bolton the day after it is confirmed once again that the Trump indictments were fake. And this is another thing that Trump went out in the Oval Office and said that was a fake case. That was a totally fake case. And people are like, he doesn't mean it was fake. I don't understand that at all. But Trump being prosecuted for things he didn't do and then being punished extra harshly for things he didn't do, all on the basis of a case whose premises were laid out by Norm Eisen at the Brookings Institution. That's a fake case. That's weaponizing the justice system against a political opponent. And now we're being told that that's what Trump is doing. And I don't know if you want to cue the Chris Hayes post up, but he goes through a list of things that would identify an authoritarian regime, and he's trying to put all of that on Donald Trump.
Well, I have a few things I want to show first. Like there's a clip from 2020 of Trump talking about Bolton. There's a bunch of really great old Trump Truth Social posts about Bolton that we could play. I mean, if there's anything John Bolton loves more than foreign wars, it's Ron DeSantis. He's retruthing Laura Loomer here, but tying Bolton to DeSantis back during the DeSimp phase, talking about John Bolton being one of the dumbest people in government, talks about him being a wacko. John Bolton is, with the exception of Hillary, by far the worst offender of them all. Talking about classified document stuff. John Bolton broke the law. Says that here. Classified information. I do think it is an interesting rerun of the classified document handling situation, because I mean that was made this huge story with Biden and Trump and how that was all handled, and now it's coming back around again, and we talk about reruns all the time, so I think that's notable. Here's Trump in 2020. I probably won't play the whole clip, but June 15th of 2020, talking about Bolton.
He's doing a book. I think it's totally inappropriate that he does a book. I think a guy, I gave him a break. He couldn't get Senate confirmed. He was never Senate confirmed the first time. I don't think he's supposed to even be calling himself an ambassador because he couldn't get Senate confirmed. He got in through a little trick, and he was there for a fairly short period of time. I put him here because he couldn't get Senate confirmed. This was a non-Senate confirmed position, as you know. He stayed for a short while, and I felt that it was not appropriate that he stay any longer. I wasn't impressed. And somebody said he went out and wrote a book. If he wrote a book, I can't imagine that he can, because that's highly classified information. Even conversations with me, they're highly classified. I told that to the Attorney General before. I will consider every conversation with me as president highly classified. So that would mean that if he wrote a book, and if the book gets out, he's broken the law. And I would think that he would have criminal problems. I hope so. Otherwise, I mean, they put a sailor in jail because he sent a photograph of his bed and an engine of an old submarine. And if this guy's writing things about conversations or about anything, and maybe he's not telling the truth. He's been known not to tell the truth a lot. So we'll have to see what the book is all about. But
so there's one. We got this, Rick Grinnell, and this was retweeted by Ezra Cohen-Watnick. So I think it's notable. It's only a 40-second clip.
If John Bolton believed any of these issues that he's bringing forward now, he should have brought those same concerns forward immediately. These are very big charges, and he didn't bring those forward when he heard them. He didn't stand up. He packaged them for a book that we know he got a huge advance on. I just find that to be suspect.
So you're saying Bolton, in your view, is not a man of principle?
No, what I'm saying is that John Bolton didn't recognize that the president of the United States was the president, and that it was his policies that John Bolton should have been supporting, not his own policies.
This was back in 2020. And then last thing I want to point out before we get to the Chris Hayes clip is this one from my part 15. John Bolton was replaced by Robert O'Brien. And this is my part 15 talking about the vaccine stuff, which I think is all notable. But anyway, okay, let's play that clip that you sent in here.
For TV attempt at an authoritarian takeover just so happens to be consuming the news cycle after news cycle. But here's the thing. It is also very real and exactly what it looks like. It's not just a show or a distraction. It's the real thing. They are sending troops into the streets. They are occupying the Capitol. They have a secret police force that is scooping people up, that is demanding people's ID. They have an enemies list. They have the state security apparatus targeting political opponents. In fact, we're being told the FBI search on John Bolton's home and office was part of a, quote, national security investigation in search of classified records. A source familiar with the matter confirmed to NBC News. But since his time in the first Trump administration, Bolton has come out as a vocal critic.
So I just want to leave it on that screen for a second.
Capitol. They have a secret police force.
Let me fast forward it.
Yeah, no, just that's perfect. Right there. Like, look at how it has friends, Trump and Epstein on that side, and enemies, Trump and Bolton on the other side. Like a very subtle pairing right there. So that's, I mean, the first element of the propaganda. But he listed off a number of identifiers of an authoritarian dictatorship. He said they're sending troops into the streets. They're occupying the Capitol. A police force is scooping people up. They have an enemies list, and they're using the state's security apparatus. All of these things were things that were prefaced during the Biden administration, and that's kind of the surface level point. But the other point is, if you were going to actually take down an authoritarian dictatorship that had been infiltrated and deeply enmeshed in your country's government, it couldn't look a different way. However it goes down, it's going to look plausibly the way he's describing it. Now, people don't believe that about Donald Trump. That's not the public sentiment. But I think that what they're doing is just trying to lay down this false history for when it's looked at by people in the future. 50 years from now, if someone was trying to figure out what was happening in the Trump era, they would look back. All the information that they would get is this kind of information because of the sheer volume and the fact that it is deemed credible. And they can also be someone in my chat brought this up today on Telegram. So I don't know who it was, but shout out to that guy. They could also just be, well, I mean, I think it's 45-47 on there. So cheers to him. But they could just be training an AI. The AI is replacing the mainstream media as people's go-to source of information. What happened back in the Trump era, if you're looking at AI 10 years or 20 years or 50 years from now, well, it's going to give you this as the answer. And in that context, then Donald Trump is the authoritarian dictator. He is Adolf Hitler. The MAGA then becomes the Nazis, just as they've been trying to portray Trump and his base for the last 10 years.
So two things that are very interesting that you said there. One about, if Trump is trying to take down some sort of dictatorship, he would likely have to do dictatorship things or things that would look like dictator or whatever to do that. And we have kind of seen Trump kind of fighting fire with fire in a lot of ways, with how all the things he's been accused of is actually what they were doing to him. He's just doing it the more legal, lawful way, but they'll never talk about that. And that is interesting. But the second thing you said there about the media and how they're kind of writing tomorrow's, like they're the history of tomorrow, whatever, and training AI or whatever it is. This has been one of my frustrations with Trump, is because I believe that if Trump wanted to, I mean, look at how he's navigated the entire battle space of all this stuff. Like when he wants to, he can sue a company and like put him out of business. Like every one of these media companies has lied about him, defamed him, all these different things. He settled with them. Like he is in control of the things he wants to be in control in. He is giving all of these same media people access to the White House. There's no such thing as new media. Like that is a pipe dream. All that shit is bullshit. Like we haven't actually seen any, in terms of the second term of Trump. I thought going into it, like there's going to be this paradigm shift of all these like podcasters and social media people and whatever. And I'm kind of glad now that it didn't happen this way after seeing how things have played out the last 6 months.
And maybe that's why it didn't happen this way.
Probably, dude, probably. But I thought there was going to be a paradigm shift, and we never got it. All we got was the same old with one chair, and they're cycling Tim Pool and DC Drano and all these other D-bags, in my opinion, Benny Johnson's through the chair, right next to the same NBCs and CNNs and all these media outlets. And I don't think it needs to be that way. Like if Trump wanted to put a spotlight on alternative media truthfully and prop them up, he could be, but they're not. And I know it's Carolyn Levitt in charge of the White House press room and all that stuff, but she does take her orders from Trump. If Trump genuinely wanted to destroy the mainstream media by first destroying their access, he could do that. Instead, he's not. He's allowing them to write tomorrow's history. Like he's allowing him to do all the things that you just warned of.
Yeah, I mean, I think about this stuff a lot. I don't know what the correct answer is, but I think it's probably true that, so I've talked a number of times about Trump being mid-negotiation all the time. If Trump gives an endorsement of a congressional candidate, or today he endorsed Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick in Texas, if he gives that endorsement, I mean, there's not even an election right now, so it's a weird time for an endorsement, but he'll go out and say, this guy's really good right now because there's something else going on, right? That's like one side of an equation. And we don't always know what's on the other side of an equation, but if he is unable to get what he wants out of a deal, he's not going to make a deal. If he's able to get what he wants, he might say, okay, yeah, fine. You can install Gavin Newsom again as governor of California. That's the thing you want. But if you do that, you're going to have to give me X, Y, Z. And maybe both sides take that deal. Trump, knowing that the media doesn't do the job it used to do and convince the American public of just reams of bullshit, maybe he understands there's an advantage by giving them the rope to hang themselves.
Yeah. And another thing here too is Alpha talks about this a lot. A lot of people in the truth community do. The what is it? What is the psyop thing? The media can lie to you. What's that act? Why can't I think of it?
Smith-Mundt Modernization.
Smith-Mundt. Yep,
Yeah.
the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act that hasn't been repealed yet.
Mhm.
The fact that he hasn't done that either from his first term or now, that says a lot too, because he could change things. But I mean, and I understand there probably is a reason. I'm still going to advocate for the things I think need to be changed that are clearly issues here. The mainstream media being a big one, if not the majority. Like Trump has called the mainstream media the enemy of the people, and he's been right about that from day one, especially in a narrative and psyop war, which we're in, an information war. The mainstream media is the enemy of the people, yet he is allowing the enemy of the people to dictate a lot of the normie battle space.
Yeah,
when he doesn't have to.
Well, what happens when the majority of your base is unwilling to stop believing what the media is selling? Because that's the situation we're in, right? He can say it's fake news. It's fake news. The fake news is the enemy of the people. And if the people are like, yeah, but like, I know how to tell which news is fake, where do you go from there?
I don't know. It's a good question. Clearly, according to what we're seeing, you just continue to play along, operate within the same battle space. And I did see somebody comment, I think it was earlier, that me saying battle space was stealing a Burning Bright word. I have to point out that I started using battle space well before Burning Bright did, because it came from the Higgins memo. So suck it. But yeah, man, that's a concern of mine. And it's interesting that Chris Hayes clip about John Bolton and the psyopery. They really haven't changed. Like, they've been running the same Trump's a dictator thing for a long time. And they threaten, like, if Trump gets in there, he's going to do all these things on day one. He's going to be a dictator for a day or whatever. And anything he does, even though, like, the National Guard, for instance, him calling in the National Guard across the country, and I think it's up to like 19 states now or something. They're saying, like, yeah, he's calling in the troops. That's what a dictator would do. But also, like, he's trying, the story we're being told as to why he's doing it. Maybe it is bullshit. He says it's to clean up the streets. And if that is legitimately what he's doing here, and it's not nothing more like planned behind the scenes or whatever, that's a valid reason, in my opinion, to do that. Like, the Democrat cities especially are a shit show. Washington, D.C. was a shit show. The Democrat governors have proven back in the summer of love that they aren't going to do it themselves. They want the violence. They want to keep whatever. The Trump cleaning it up for them, that's something that he's proven he's willing to do now. And he doesn't have to worry about another election. Elections are fake anyway. But I don't know where I was going with that. So sometimes when I don't know where I'm going, I ramble until I remember.
Is there any indication at any point, I haven't seen one, that the National Guard or Trump's secret police force are pursuing Americans? I haven't seen anything like that. And that's why they try to make Kilmar Abrego Garcia, that whole psyop, they try to make him seem like he's the normal American that's being negatively affected by these policies. I would worry about the National Guard being sent out to all these places if they were harassing Americans and limiting the freedom of Americans. Otherwise, they're just doing their duty and trying to defend the Constitution, hopefully.
Did you see Abrego Garcia is potentially going to be deported to Uganda?
We're going to have, what is it called? Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Where in the world is Kilmar Abrego Garcia?
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, look at this. U.S. seeks to deport Kilmar Abrego Garcia to Uganda after he refused plea deal offer in his smuggling case. Hilarious.
Why there? Yeah.
I don't know. Never been there myself, so don't know why. But anyway, one more story I wanted to discuss before we go through rants and such is this one. There's a story that came out today, and I can't bypass the paywall, and I refuse to give money to Wall Street Journal, so we don't get this full article, but I still think it is interesting. Pentagon has quietly blocked Ukraine's long-range missile strikes on Russia. The Defense Department has withheld approval for attacks as the White House has sought to entice Moscow to open peace talks. And I'll read as far as we can here. The Pentagon has for months been blocking Ukraine's use of long-range missiles to strike inside Russia, U.S. officials said, limiting Kyiv from employing a powerful weapon in its fight against Moscow's invasion. A high-level Defense Department approval procedure, which hasn't been announced, has prevented Ukraine from firing any U.S.-made long-range Army tactical missile systems, or ATACMS, against targets in Russia since late spring, the officials said on at. Damn it.
Yeah.
But the reason, okay, so under Joe Biden, like in November or something, they started to approve these attacks. And then when Trump gets in there, he's like, yeah, you're not going to do that anymore. But it reminded me of this story from back in 2022 that we've talked about before, that the U.S. altered HIMARS rockets launches to keep Ukraine from firing missiles into Russia. But this was, oh, damn it, this was behind a paywall too. But this one was actually like the Pentagon and Cybercom. They were altering the hardware and software of these missiles before they even got to Ukraine, so that it was physically impossible, even if they wanted to shoot these missiles over. So even if they had approval from the Biden administration, it didn't matter. The military had like deprogrammed these things and prevented them from being fired into Russia. Now that Trump is in more direct control, they don't have to do this. They just don't give the approval whatsoever. And apparently that's enough. But I thought it was an interesting story to at least mention.
Wasn't there some like gnashing of teeth a month ago when reports came out that said Trump was approving Ukraine's use of long-range missiles into Russia?
Oh, probably.
Oh. So it turns out that story wasn't actually true.
Trump approves Ukraine. Let me see if I can find those stories. I do remember something like that.
Well, here's.
Was it the arms deal to Ukraine?
Well, there was this news cycle here. Take a look at this. So this was from mid-July.
I don't know. Interesting. It just reminded me of a more Devo-proof story in the past. The whole Russia situation, man. You know, they had the meeting last Friday in Alaska, and a lot of people were looking at it like, yeah, peace is on the table. It doesn't seem like we're that much closer to peace in Ukraine since that meeting.
Well, there was a story that had pictures of buildings that were blown up, and that was Russia attacking Kyiv again. And I guess we're just going to get that story perpetually forever until people opt out of this stuff, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know what we're waiting for either, but we'll see. I'm sure there's going to be a trilateral meeting soon. Maybe we're just going to have an entire eventually like meeting of every leader in the world is going to come together for a meeting just to like negotiate the peace deal. It's just going to go from 2 leaders to 3 leaders to like 10 leaders.
As long as the war narrative continues, though, the regime side of the equation continues to look worse all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Like they've looked worse every single day for 3.5 years than they did the day before that.
Yeah. You said about a lot of things. Like
yeah.
with a lot of the narratives that Trump is, weaving through.
Yep.
He always ends up looking better.
Well, yeah, there's a directionality to these things. And I think that directionality should give people a lot of solace in what's going on. Things are still moving in the right direction. They may not be fast enough to please you or to please me or to please the people in the audience, but on every one of these issues, the situation is moving in our direction.
Yeah, totally agree, man. Before we get to the rants, just want to ask everybody to give a thumbs up. We also have one more sponsor. I'm very excited about the official ad read for Soft Disclosure, new product that we got selling. I'm going to read this real quick. Let me get it pulled up here and ready to go. All right, here we go. By the way, before I even read this, I haven't even seen this yet. So it's going to be and I'm not even going to get to it because I'm going to be reading it. So Chris, you have to tell me how the video looks. Okay. All right. Get ready to ignite a revolution with Soft Disclosure. This isn't just a product drop. It's a full-on movement that's about to shake things up. This is personal care that doesn't mess around. No compromises, just pure, unapologetic quality. First up, the lotion, supercharged with aloe, goat milk, and our exclusive Badlands oil blend. This isn't your average drugstore goop. It's a barrier-restoring powerhouse. Choose unscented when you want clean and simple, or vanilla citrus when you want to smell like you actually give a damn. Then the deodorant, natural, aluminum-free, and straight-up badass. Built to last 2 months of daily use with scents like crisp mint or bold lemon grapefruit. No gimmicks, just protection that actually delivers. And finally, the tallow bar. And no, it's not deodorant. It's a vanilla coffee tallow stick, primal fuel for skin that's been through hell. Rub it where you need serious moisture, elbows, hands, knees, basically anywhere you're tired of feeling like sandpaper or just want baby soft skin. Every bottle, stick, and bar is handcrafted in Colorado by Badlanders who live and breathe truth. Partnering with Willow Wind Farm and Badlands Media, we're putting our money where our morals are. Soft disclosure. Make truth your routine. Head to softdisclosure.com, use code Badlands for $5 off, and join the fight today. That's softdisclosure.com, promo code Badlands. And also, guys, every purchase of Soft Disclosure is the profit of that is going to the Badlands Media creator rev share. So you are directly supporting Badlands Media when you purchase Soft Disclosure. How's the video? How's the ad, man? What was your experience?
It was really nice. The video began with a beautiful shot of a sunset behind a mountain.
Wow.
And then the products began to be featured at about the same time you were talking about them. So it worked.
Timed it well.
Great.
That's awesome. Love it when a plan comes together like that.
Yeah.
Yes, check it out. Softdisclosure.com. I don't think you'd be disappointed. And we priced them as reasonably as we possibly could. So check it out. Yeah, Bay says John is slathering again. You should have seen me at the bar after the Saturday DPH last weekend because I had my bib on. I had the lotion like in the front pocket. Bibs are perfect for lotion distribution. I was just walking around like giving everybody lotion. Entire bar is great.
Bibs. That was the first time I'd ever heard that word used that way. I always called them overalls.
You never heard them as bibs?
No.
What?
I wonder if that's like a regional term.
It might be. I guess I don't know. Maybe I'm using it wrong. I don't know.
No, you're using it right. I looked it up.
Like just now?
No, last week.
Oh, you did? Oh.
Yeah. When I heard it for the first time, I was like, what? Because I always thought the bib is the thing that you wrap around a baby's neck to not get his clothes dirty when he's eating.
Well, I think that's true too. That's
Yeah.
also a bib, but yeah. Real quick before we do rants again, too, I got one more thing to promo. Is Codex 9/11, guys. World premiere tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern. You're not going to want to miss this movie. Brad nailed it. It's going to be amazing. He's going on with Bernie Bright after this on the narrative. And they're going to talk about this as well. Also, one more thing tomorrow. We have to get our 5 hours of premium content in. So if you happen to miss GART and you want to catch 5 hours of GART content tomorrow morning, I'm going to be streaming that starting at about 9 or 9:30 a.m. Eastern. So that'll be on here, Rumble Premium, or over on YouTube for those who missed it. But yeah, check it out, guys, tomorrow. This is by far the best 9/11 documentary you'll ever see. And then let's see if we got any boosts. Oh, I don't want to do that. I want a word search. Hold for processing, guys. I'm retarded right now. Jesus.
And on Brad's behalf, we should thank everybody for all the support they're putting behind him.
Oh, yeah,
The
absolutely.
support's been overwhelming on there, hasn't it?
And he deserves it too. And also, if you guys go to badlandsmedia.tv/codex911, at the bottom, there is a way to directly support him, and it pulls in all the support right here. You can see it all. It's been amazing. And like I said, there's nobody who deserves it more than Brad. He's worked so freaking hard on this thing for so long. And he's just, I don't know, he's such a good guy.
Yeah.
Such a good guy. One boost over on the website. We got 1027JS. Good to see you, Joe. Says, thanks, guys, for $20.
Thank you.
And we got this, the rants, and I will go through these, but also the outro video. You sent something over earlier.
Oh yeah,
that I think I want it to be the outro. I just got to find where I put it. It's that other John Bolton thing.
Yep.
And I don't know where I put it. Was that in our private chat?
It was on Telegram.
Oh yeah, there it is. Okay, perfect. Got that pulled up for when we're done here. Okay, now let's do these rants. Sorry for my disorganization here. Micro Toolmaker for $55 says, "Where we go one, we go all. Nothing can stop what is coming." Thank you, Micro Toolmaker. I also saw that he gifted 10 subs, I think, and I also saw Counterinsurgent, I believe, gift a bunch of subs. So thank you guys for that. That's always appreciated and a big help. Custard_1 says, "John, what is the mid-year exam you often refer to?" The mid-year exam is the investigation into Hillary Clinton's handling of classified materials on an unclassified system, her emails. That is the mid-year exam, the one that they totally basically buried and couldn't find one single reasonable prosecutor in the entire country to prosecute that case. Rocks Cry Out says, or is becoming a month supporter. Thank you, Rocks Cry Out. Sunny Peach, happy birthday to my son Chandler. Happy birthday, Chandler. Sunny Peach again, bite it trolls with a eggplant emoji. Yeah, trolls bite it. Q Fan Addict says, "John, Epstein is in the Q drops 49 times for the Q drops. That's huge. It's a big effing deal. That is a lot." Sunny Peach again. "I sure had fun at GART. Miss all y'all." We miss you too, Sunny Peach. That was a great time. But you can get us again in Cocoa Beach. And this Saturday or Sunday, the 7th, September 7th, I'm going to be in Minneapolis. We're doing a meetup up there. I will post details on that either tomorrow or Monday. So stay tuned. Cam Cooksey, good to see you, Cam. Q drop 4565 and 4803 regarding Epstein and Maxwell for the latter. Check that out. The Alpha Warrior Show says, "Questions give a suspect an idea of what's known, not known, or suspected. As investigators, we purposely script our questions to confuse the suspects of what we really know."
Didn't we do that one earlier?
We probably did. I probably did a few of these. The Walrus, like putting the eunuch in charge of the harem. That's interesting. That is interesting the way you put that, man. Having two people who can't have sex in charge of a sex trafficking ring. Ash, we did that one earlier. We did this one earlier. Q of Swords, possible everyone is lying because children are still being held as hostages. It's possible. Thank you for the rant. Q of Swords. Tomev says, "Why is Epstein dead though?" Well, I'm told it's because he killed himself. Not that I believe it. Oh, Maxwell was actually asked about that too. Donald, did you see that?
I think I saw it, and yeah, I don't remember actually.
She said,
"Sounds familiar, but
I think you said this in an interview, but if I'm wrong, forgive me. Do you have a view of Mr. Epstein of whether he committed suicide or whether something else happened? Then can we take a break?" Yeah, we can take a break and come back. Do you think he did not die by suicide given all the things we just talked about? I do not believe he died by suicide, no. And you believe that? Do you have any speculation or view of who killed him? I do not. And then Blanche says, and I ask that because if you don't believe that there's any truth to the allegations of blackmail, or that he had kind of a list, or that he had reasons to have people hate him, why would somebody kill him in prison? And she said, "In prison where I am, they will kill you or they will pay, somebody can pay a prisoner to kill you for $25 worth of commissary. That's about the going rate for a hit with a lock today." That seems cheap.
Yeah, that is pretty cheap.
Especially considering inflation these days. You'd think with Biden inflation would at least be like $30 by now. Anyway, let's keep going. Tempered Wisdom says, "What if she was given a deal by Trump to tell that story to get all the guilty people?" I think we read that one earlier. We did read that one earlier. I think we read this one earlier. Alpha Warrior, kale tastes good, Ash. Alpha Warrior showed no matter what she said, some would like it, others would hate it. In investigations, prior perjury arrest charges get used to impeach witnesses, so anyone she dimes off would have been let off unless. And then later he says, unless separate evidence existed to support it. Chris is cool. John is all right. Alpha, what happened to the dildo, bro? You're the last one to have it.
Uh-oh.
Sorry. You were saying something when I interrupted you.
No. I was just saying, thanks, Alpha.
Oh,
you're saying that I'm cool and you're only all right.
No thanks, Alpha. Q Fanatic, you have to have taken in all the Q drops over a grueling, lengthy amount of time discussion. It all ties into Mossad and so much more. Q's proven their creds, and either you believe the team or not, it'll be huge.
I don't think it's necessarily you believe the team or not. Sometimes it's just a matter of whether or not people reading the posts and analyzing the posts have correctly assessed the meaning of what's being communicated.
That's a great point. Ash 1776, we're seeing all the conspiracies declassed. We're seeing child sex rings rolled up. We're seeing former NSAs getting raided. People are afraid to hope. I get it. Still, I hope. Should be like a tattoo or something.
Yeah.
The Alpha Warrior Show, unless I already read that one. L. Scott 725. It boils down to the fact that all of us who have received shit for years wanted to be like, see, not only were these people frauds in politics, they're straight evil.
Yep. That's definitely a big part of it.
Yes, it is. Alpha Warrior Show. Remember this, DOJ didn't reinvestigate this Epstein case. They did a systemic review of it. They did investigate Epstein's suicide, which they legally lied about. 18 U.S. 3521 WITSEC. Yes, we know. All people who die in the movement go to WITSEC or something like that. Tempered wisdom. They say the earth is a globe. They have the masses fooled on everything. We are definitely fooled on a lot of things. Thomas Time 76. I would definitely consider paying for Rumble Premium, but don't want to if Badlands can't get credit for me upgrading. I have the agreement in my inbox. I was going to sign it today, but didn't. I'll be signing it tomorrow. So I think we'll be getting credit for that stuff very soon. Maybe as early as Monday. So just stay tuned. Q Fanatic. Q's already proven unprecedented, incredibly complex military intel psych operation. To think you're going to figure it out without massive intel they have is insanely ambitious and lofty. It's not supposed to make sense. I don't think I need to read like the Q drops. And this is the thing I always get. People are like, well, if you don't read the Q drops, you can't understand what's going on. I don't necessarily think that's true.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that people who do read the Q drops don't understand what's going on, but I don't think one has to read the Q drops to understand what's going on either. Like,
it's definitely it can definitely be a valuable resource if it opens up areas of exploration.
Absolutely. And I literally wrote about this too. This is like one of my favorite, when I say favorite, I mean least favorite comments we get is like, we're all anti-Q now or whatever. We're all anti-Q. It's just so stupid. I've written many times and said many times how I think Q is legit, and I've stayed away from it for a reason. I didn't want it to bias any of my research. I didn't want to, I tried to stay away from the confirmation bias, guys, for those who hate me saying that. That's what I'm trying to do, and I'm sticking to it.
By the way, if we can get to the same place that they've gotten without engaging the drops, that means something.
I agree.
And part of what it means, just to be totally fair, is that we might be at this point downstream from a lot of what Anons on the boards back in the day turned up. And Anons on the boards back in the day is a different group of people than Q influencers on Twitter.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Seems smooth. Great questions, John, Chris, and Chad. Discerning truth is not won by all of us agreeing. That is for sure. Breaking news, WBA to not allow bags in games anymore. I'm just curious where all the fans will keep their tampons if that's the case. But is that actually true? Breaking, no bag policy has been implemented for tonight's WNBA game in an attempt to crack down on dildo throwers. And the meme is, I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it. The memes about that are great. Now they're starting to do it at football games.
Yeah. Well, only for the Minnesota Vikings who have gay cheerleaders.
Hey, you know what? I saw somebody sent me this actually. Yeah, there's a list of teams introducing male cheerleaders this year. Minnesota Vikings, Baltimore Ravens, Los Angeles Rams, New Orleans Saints, Philadelphia Eagles, San Francisco 49ers, New England Patriots, Tennessee Titans, Indianapolis Colts, Kansas City Chiefs, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Carolina Panthers. So it's not just the Vikings, Chris.
Wow. Well, I mean, just the Vikings are the only victims of a green dildo on an NFL field so far.
And I think it was in Tennessee. So technically the Tennessee Titans were the victims.
Well, fair enough.
It was a Tennessee dildo, not a Minnesota dildo. Old School 69, John Solomon told us weeks ago that some major moves will start taking place as it is reveals this stuff has already been acquired in the past and waiting for proper time to deploy semi-control. Yeah, totally believe that. Old School 69, my first virtual GART was wonderful. Thank you all. One question about Codex 911. Do you think the people reported killed on all the planes were spared and given a new identity for their silence? I think Brad answered that in the Q&A afterwards and said he thought they were probably all killed after they made the phone calls and stuff. But watch documentary and join the narrative afterwards, and they'll probably discuss it. Miss Rhea Freedom Fighter, $5 says, great show tonight, gentlemen. Thank you. And the Meerkat says, hi. How's it going, dude? And Julie J.N., Northern California, early 80s, called them bib overalls. Thanks, guys. And thank you. And that's all the rants for tonight. So appreciate you all for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up. I know we had a pretty good crowd watching. Still almost 17,000. So we should have roughly 17,000 thumbs up by now. So if you haven't hit that thumbs up, please do so. And we're going to outro with this video. Chris, do you have any closing words of wisdom?
No, man. I think that I think that we said enough.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow morning on the GART stream, the premium thing. And then during Brad's documentary tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. Be there or be square. You guys have a great rest of your evening.
We seem to have breaking news. Apparently, the FBI has found the USB thumb drive they were looking for. Mr. Bolton was reportedly hiding it under his mustache. This is apparently the same technique he used to smuggle information in and out of the State Department. Apparently, it was President Trump who alerted the FBI to make sure they checked under his mustache. He said, and I quote, "Make sure you look under that son of a bitch's mustache. I never trusted that mustache." We seem to have breaking news. Apparently, the FBI has found the USB thumb drive they were looking for. Mr. Bolton was reportedly hiding it under